Well, good morning, everybody. I am Yvette LaFleur with Healing with Yvette, and we'll see how the there's a live words that come up as I speak, and they spell my name wrong every single week. I don't know about that. And I am here with Janine Tillio-Cammarata. And Janine has over 40 years of experience with personal journaling. I mean, 40 years. I want you to think about that for a minute. That is massive. She's kept a family journal for 28 years, and she refers to it as her legacy of love. And we can absolutely see why you would call a family journal of 28 years a legacy of love. She currently teaches journaling, memoir, and creative writing. Janine has been practicing Reiki for 15 years and combines this energy healing system with other mind, body, and spirit modalities, such as journaling, dream guidance, and narrative therapy. And I think we're going to come back another time and talk about dream guidance, just so you know. Janine is an award-winning author of 7 books, ranging from middle grade and young adult to nonfiction. And the other thing that I want to share with you about Janine is Janine and I have known each other for a very long time because we actually went to school together. We came from a very little town, a one-light town, and for me, we were talking about this as we prepared to come live. I said, it amazes me that another friend in our circle is also a Reiki master. So there are 3 Reiki masters that came from, and there's actually more because we were discussing more people that we knew from our area. And it just is a little, I don't know if it's perplexing. It's amazing that from this small town came many Reiki masters. You know, it makes me wonder. So Janine, thank you for, you actually suggested this collaboration. So I'm really, and the more we talk, the more exciting it became. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I think it must be the water creating all these Reiki masters.
Greenville Pond. Oh my gosh. Oh, the stories about that pond. Anyway, we promise not to tell stories on each other during this.
That'll be a different segment.
Behind the scenes with Janine and Yvette. So first, I want to point your attention to this, whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay. Behind Janine, I'm going to just have her. Those are Janine's journals, and it goes below where you can see. So when you look at that, you might say, oh my God, right? You feel like, how could I even possibly start? When you watch someone who has 40 years of experience and you're talking with someone who has 40 years of experience and you think, I buy the journals and I buy the pens, that's me, right? Where do I begin with journaling? Let's start there.
Yeah, I have a lot of times, first of all, thank you so much for having me today. But that's a big question that I get. People buy multiple journals, they get them as gifts, they have all these pens and different supplies, and then they don't do anything with them. So part of my job as a journal collaborator is just starting simple and just giving basic prompts about your daily journal posts, that I call it. So what did you do in your day? So journaling can be recording your daily just events. And so who were you with today? Where did you go? When did you do this in your day? How did what you did impact your day? Did it bring you joy? Did you struggle? So it's really kind of that family history or that personal history, but then also it prioritizes how you want to live your life and helps you to remember what you did, because half the time I can't remember what I even did yesterday. So it's nice to go back in my journal to remind me.
Yeah, we were talking before we came live that I'll go back and look, because I have that collection and there's 10, 20, 30 pages written in, and I'll look back and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm still doing the same stuff, or wow, I've come a long way. Right? But I don't remember this at all. So
yeah, because we forget, and then every time we actually remember a moment, we're changing it in our brain again. So the moment, the memory actually shifts. So that's why memoir is so interesting, because it's your perspective as you remember it now. And so I mix journaling and memoir. Journaling can be access to memoir when you want to make meaning of your life and the different moments in it. But journaling, I call it my pause place because it allows me, and I write with a pen and paper. I have a bunch of different journals that I can share with you kind of how I use them. But it's my place to sit still and contemplate, reflect on my day, set intentions for my day. How do I want to show up today in my life? What am I looking forward to? You know, today I wrote and I put little hearts in my chat with Yvette today. That's what I'm excited about. You know, how am I feeling today? And if I have, you know, if I'm in a bad mood or I'm grumpy, why? You know, it helps you process your emotions. And do I need to take action to, maybe I was upset with someone? Do I need to talk to them and clarify it? Or do I just need to sit and writing out the fact that I was grumpy helps shift my mood? So it's helping me live a fuller life, helping me live a more present life by taking that time to sit with my journal.
So I love that you mentioned you have different journals. So am I hearing that you have different journals for different parts of life or different intentions?
Hmm. Yes, and again, I want to make sure that journaling is accessible to everyone. So note that I've been doing this for a long time, and because I'm also a writer, journaling and writing is my career. So I do this all the time, and it's my love. So I have a big journal. It's like a sketchbook, a little donkey on there. And so this is my daily journal. I put my monthly goals in there. I put my calendar, I actually write out each day, and then put what I have to do in my day, what my intentions are. And then at the end of the day, I circle back and say, this is what happened in my day. And then I index it in the beginning so that I know if I had a doctor's appointment, I know it's on page 5. So I can go back in and see what what was the notes about the doctor's appointment. Sometimes I do it on my phone, but the journal is always there. And I found by using this journal, I am so much more productive, present, and I think happier. This little journal is, I actually put Reiki love in here. So if I'm supporting anyone, I put intentions in that.
Yeah,
And
I have
then
to
this,
say that
yeah,
your Reiki journal looks like an antique, right? It looks like
yes.
it was dug out of the back of a cave somewhere. I
And I
love that.
love it because I can just carry it with me, you know, and it's just something someone needs an intention set for them or just some Reiki love sent to them, then I can write it in there. And this one, my lovely sister Michelle gave to me. This is really my one of my biggest joys because I had gone on a trip to Ireland and I couldn't bring my big journal with me. And so she gave me this. And so I put little pictures and I write in about my different events. And so I have a motorcycle journal and then my summer fun journal. And this is what's for anyone. If my husband wants to know, where did we go on the third day in Ireland? Here's a journal, you can read all about it. So this is different, that it's kind of it's a history so everyone can read it. My personal journal is for me. So it's keep it where no one will see it. It's where I can be honest. I can, you know, scribble angry notes, I can process things, and then no one else needs to see it. And then this is just a journal about my writing. I keep a separate journal for my books because I would fill up my other journal, you know, too quickly. And I can talk about indexing, but I kind of do a table of contents in each one so it's easy to see. And then just finally, this is my family history. I use Peter Pauper. It's big lined. I
Mm,
write very neatly in here because not everyone can read cursive anymore. So if you're keeping a family history, it's really important that someone can actually read it, excuse me, years from now. But these I keep them, they're nicer, they're hardcover, they're acid-free paper. I use an archival pen so it doesn't fade, the wording doesn't fade. So those are important things to note. depending what you want to journal about and why. And so that helped you kind of pick the journal that brings you joy.
I can tell you that I just got this image of years in the future. There's going to be jobs out there for people to decipher cursive writing, right?
Like, it's archaeology and just digging up these journals. Like,
We
what,
have
what were
job
people
security.
doing? It's
I
true.
would I would love to talk about the top shelf behind you and how you got
Hmm.
started there.
Yeah, so that is when I was first pregnant with my son, Nick. Stories have always been really important. And my dad had passed away at age 57, and he was such a storyteller. And I was really nervous to ask him about questions about our family, thinking, okay, well, if I'm asking him this, does he think that I don't believe he's gonna beat his disease? And I didn't get those stories. And I have some, and I've asked people, but our family history is so important, who we are, where we were, where we came from. And so I wanted that for my children. And so I started writing to Nick and called him baby at first, and just really detailed. My journals are probably more detailed than they would ever want to know. And so when Stefan was born 2 years later, then I addressed it to my boys and just their daily lives, what they were doing. Big world events would come in, like 9/11, the pandemic, absolutely. But I kept it more our family, their lives, and our immediate family. And then, as you know, in 2008, I lost Nick to cancer. And those journals really took on new meaning. And I also incorporated scrapbooks, so pictures and just their family history. And so that really helps keep someone's legacy with us. Those stories are important for us to be, just to know who we are, like I said. So the family journals are really, it takes a lot of work for me to keep up with them every day. Sometimes I forget what I talked to my son about, so I look back at our texts, and I just it varies each time. But when I look back at them, I realize that we had wonderful memories. We had really beautiful childhood, and we just have beautiful times together. And so I think he'll appreciate it at some point in his
Mhm.
life. Right now he's 26, but he is the keeper of the journals, and he understands the importance of what I've done. And that's important, is if you're telling stories and you want to share a legacy with family, to be very clear, I want these journals to go to, or if it's your personal journals, I want so and so to burn these journals if something happens to me. It's being clear with where and who takes care of your stories.
Yeah. I was thinking about how often I see things on Facebook about, I wish I had asked. I wish I had
Hmm.
more
Yeah.
stories. And you see that, when there's time to tell the stories, people don't ask, and when it's too late, they don't get them. And so it seems like the family journal, for those who the importance of family traditions and stories and lineage is important, they could be so valuable to everyone. Do you
Hmm.
keep in your journals, do you have family recipes by any chance?
I have put family recipes. So with these group of journals, I have not indexed them. And I don't know if that's something I'll go back and do. So it's kind of like Thanksgiving, hey, here's Michelle's special apple pie. But I think that that could be something to put in, because we have my Yaya's pasticcio and all these recipes. But that could actually be a way to tell your family history through the
Hmm.
recipes.
Hmm.
There's so many different ways that you can tell your family history.
Yeah, love it. So, what else would you like us to know about journaling?
I think that sometimes it feels daunting. So understanding why you want to journal, and start out simple. And maybe even if you write a sentence a day, or you write your mood, or you track the weather for a month, hey, that's journaling. If you doodle, some people keep an art journal. It's really personalizing it to you. I
Mhm.
just create the space. So I teach all around the area, and I just create the space, give the tools, some prompts, but I learn more from what everyone else is doing sometimes. They come up with these beautiful ideas of how they're expressing themselves, and journaling is as personal and as unique as we all are. So it's really finding what brings you joy. You want it to, I to get up in the morning, I sit, I have my cup of tea, I just have my morning meditation, and then I set my intentions for the day. And if you notice how journaling helps you, or if you see what you're kind of getting out of it and building the practice, then you'll continue it. But getting ideas, on Pinterest, or joining a class and just getting started. I have people who come to my classes and say, "This is the only time I journal." I'm like, that's great. Once a month, I teach a journaling workshop, so anyone can join me online or in person. And I'm happy to create that space for people to do that.
Awesome. So I don't forget, tell us how people can find this journaling workshop, especially if it's done online. That means no matter where people are listening from, they'll have that
hmm
opportunity.
Yeah, so on my website, JanineDeTillio-Cammarata.com, um, you can get that. It's once a month at my local library, and then I will be teaching other online workshops as well. But I also have my blog, my Instagram. I'm always putting up prompts for everyone, just to see what connects with them. And if you try something one month, like my journal changes all the time. I'll With the change of the seasons, I'll shift what I'm paying attention to. Like right now, it's what am I letting go in order to make space for the fall season. And I've even tracked like the moon, how the moon phases are, and does that affect my journal? Does it affect my life? And then you shift. So it's always changing as you change.
That's one of the things I really like about this concept of journaling. It is not a one size fit all. And
Mhm,
you get to test it out, test drive it. The one of the journaling practices that I've used in the past is the gratitude journal. And
mhm,
to set the day or end the day with the gratitudes is just an amazing way to open the space of the day or close it down.
mhm,
And so I encourage you, for those of you who are listening, is to think about what is it that feeds your soul? How is it that you want to utilize the journals? Because there is no one right way. And you
mhm,
can use it however works for you. My mom used to, in talking about this, you reminded me, my mother used to get the Audubon calendar every year, and it
mhm,
had this space like about this big, and she would write in the weather and a little bit about the day. Unfortunately, she had years of them and had a house fire and lost all of them. And that was
mm,
one of her most devastating losses, was those journals.
mhm.
She had
Yeah.
the history in there.
Mhm. And yeah, and that absolutely is journaling. You can take a calendar and just fill in for your day. I have a few letters from my in-laws of when my father-in-law was in the army, and they wrote to each other. And so you have that person's handwriting. They put the date in, the temperature, and the day of the week. All those details solidifies and thickens that memory. So putting in that sensory detail, if you're on vacation, what you ate, the texture of it, what you saw, what you felt, all of that brings that memory back to life. It's just like fiction writing. If you reading a fiction book, they're setting the stage for it. They're the setting, where they are, when, all of that comes into play in journaling if you want to really thicken that memory. And then the feelings then help you to analyze what's going on and to bring change in your life, or understand that you're right, you're on the correct path.
Mhm.
And I love the gratitude journal because that raises your vibration, right? Every time it's like thinking of that positive, my preferred way of being, what I'm grateful for. It just raises my energy. And so then that reverberates out into the world.
Yes, yes, yes. And one of the comments that was made when I asked on the Facebook page about journaling was someone said that the more, when she was consistent with her journaling, she was more connected essentially to spirit and her higher self. And
Mm-hmm.
so answers and what I call downloads, like those seemingly out of nowhere ideas, came more regularly because I just heard you become an open portal, right? Because you're
Yeah.
allowing yourself to receive that information
Mm-hmm.
because you're connecting.
Yeah, and so one of the things that journaling has really helped me was processing my grief from losing my son. And so all of a sudden I had this journal where I was writing to both my boys, and then now one's an earth son and one's a spirit son. And so I will write on his anniversary, his birthdays, holidays, I write to Nick. And that I love how you say it opens a portal because he's always over my shoulder when I'm writing to him. And that is connection to people who we lose in the physical sense. And journaling is such a wonderful way to bridge that connection.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like how you say the processing of stuff, because you, whatever type of healing work you're doing, whether it's energy healing, you're doing IET, you're doing, you're out walking in nature, there's stuff that comes up, and journaling is another way to process it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there, for me, I do know that when I do it, there's the starting point, and then it's almost not inconsequential, but it's like the surface, right? And as I write, like the depth comes in. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, there it is.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you like you're pulling off those layers, and
Mhm.
then one thing leads to the other.
Mhm.
And I do have to say, I attribute journaling to really saving my life after losing my child. And I see it's going to be 15 years in October, and I go back to my Octobers, because when people ask me how do you do it, I look back and I see really the journaling shows kind of how I have gone through my process. And you never end grieving. It's how you live with it and work with it. But I can see the changes in me from those 15 years ago. It doesn't change how I feel about my child. It doesn't change my relationship. It just shows that there is hope, that we can live with loss, and we can also find joy in loss, after loss. And that's, I think, is one of the biggest things that I try and bring out in my workshops and for people, is that we can live with our loved ones in many different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. There's um the workshops that you're talking about, are they all in person? I know you said you have some online stuff, but I'm just feeling grief is, our culture doesn't do grief well.
Mhm.
And I find that I would say probably 90% of the clients that come to work with me are dealing with grief. I'm here to heal the grief of my ancestors, so it's no accident,
Mhm.
right? And I've become highly aware of how inefficient we are as a culture in doing it. So specifically around grief, do you offer journaling workshops or workshops around that?
It's very funny because it has been kind of pulling at me. I have done that, but I feel like that's something that's missing, that I would like to bring into more of my workshops. And I can do in person, online, especially with the pandemic. I did everything online, and it worked. I'd rather connect with someone online than not be able to connect with them to journaling. But I feel like there is definitely a need for a journaling with grief workshop. So I think I'm going to bring that into fruition, Yvette. And
Mm,
yeah, it does come up in my workshops, but I think something specific to that could be helpful.
absolutely. For sure. For sure. All right. You know what? I just want to check. I realized I should probably check and see if anybody has any questions on as we're doing a live. While I'm checking, is there
Hmm.
anything else that you want to tell people about journaling? Right.
Um,
About,
I think whether you're, however you decide to journal, like I do have people who do journaling on their computer, especially when I have teens, they'll like, I'll want to do, and you can put, like, I have a lot of fun things that I use when I'm journaling. I have stickers, I have washi tape, I use different color pens. It's like sometimes when people come into a journal workshop, it looks like it's a kindergarten class, like, is this arts and crafts? But if the computer is what calls you, then you can use it. Why journaling with pen and paper works is that it's slowing you down, and that connection to pen and paper, it's releasing those toxins or whatever emotions you're that are kind of in you are flowing out. It can happen with the computer too, but computer you tend to write faster. With writing, it's the idea of slowing down and giving your mind almost that pause place to catch up with everything, to actually feel, process, and write it out.
yeah. And I do want to say that it can be done with computer. We talked about
Hmm.
this prior to coming live, that my hand cramps pretty quickly
Hmm.
when I write. And I've heard, you don't want to do computer because then you're worrying about the typos. So I've done it where I actually I close my eyes and I type, and I don't worry about the typos until,
Hmm.
then I will go back and edit. But it it allows a free flow, which is what you're looking for, what I'm looking
Hmm.
for with the writing, so that I can, like I said, peel away those layers.
Yeah, and what you said is a really great point. Don't edit, judge, criticize your journal. It's for you. And it's not something, unless it's something that you plan on then maybe using it for family history, using it for memoir, then maybe you take it and you type it up and you revise it. That's different. But if we're judging ourselves in our journal, we're like judging our highest self. And so it makes it very hard to be honest. And if you want to use journaling for healing, for self awareness, change, if you're not honest in your journal, then how is any change going to happen? If I say every day is great, then I'm lying to myself.
So
And,
funny.
maybe it'll look good 10 years ago when 10 years further, I look back and say, hey, life was great. But it's not a true recording of what I'm going through.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Yeah, and that is the thing with the journal, is it's an opportunity for truth telling, where you
Hmm.
may not have it. Not everybody has access to that in their everyday life, but on the
Yeah.
pages, you have the access to truth telling.
Yeah, and it's your truth. It's as you are in this moment. And I do tell people too is that you don't want someone else reading your journal, because if you're upset with someone and you're processing it through the journal and then they read it, it feels personal to them. But that was how you felt at that moment. Doesn't mean that's how you feel about that person. It's how the journal helped you to work through those emotions. So I always use my husband as an example. If I am upset with something he did or whatever it is, I'll write it out before we have any kind of conversation, because then I see, well, what was my role
Mhm.
in our argument or whatever it is? What do I want to say to him? How do I want to say it? And it just helps me to be a little bit clearer in my communication, because I always tend to be, remember 5 minutes later, oh yeah, I wanted to say that. Oh yeah. And so again, slowing down and processing it. Journaling saves marriages. That's what I say.
That's actually a really good t-shirt. But it, because it takes the sting out, right? You can,
Hmm.
thing can be in the pages so that when you
Right.
bring the conversation forward, it's not as lit up with that energy.
Right. Right.
All right. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, I
Thank
would
you.
love for you to share one more time where people can find you and find out more about you.
Yeah. So it's Janine Tillio-Cammarata.com. Would you like me to spell it?
Yes, I would.
Okay. www.janine.Cammarata.com. I know it's very long, but it's all of me.
It's all of me. And what
It's all
about
of me.
Instagram, Facebook, all of
Yeah,
those?
and actually Instagram and Facebook, it's Instagram is Janine Camarata. Sorry, it's confusing. And then Facebook is Janine Detilio Camarata. If you go to my website, and I also put it on on Facebook and everything, I'll add that in there too.
Yeah,
All my links to my Pinterest page, Instagram, Facebook are all on there as well.
perfect. And I am healing with Yvette in all places. Just
See, that's a good thing to do. I may have to do some changes.
no, don't change it. That's who you are. Thank you again, Janine, for coming in, talking about journaling, inspiring people to grab their color pens, washi tape, journals, composition notebooks, calendars, whatever it is that works for them, doing it their way to make journaling fit into their lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yvette.